My fiancé skipped my ER visit for his ex's dog funeral, and that wasn't even the worst betrayal. I was in the ER after a serious car accident, terrified and in pain. The accident. I was driving home from work when another car blew through a red light and slammed into my side. I barely remember the impact, just the sound of metal tearing, glass shattering, and then the dizzy blur of flashing lights. My car was totaled. My arm throbbed, my head was pounding, and every breath hurt. Paramedics swarmed around me. Someone grabbed my phone to call my emergency contact, my fiancé, John. They dialed him multiple times. No answer. My secondary contact, my older sister, picked up immediately and rushed to meet me at the hospital. While I was in the ER, my sister kept calling John. Finally, she got a text back. She showed it to me the next morning when I was stable. I'm at Emily's dog's funeral. She needs me more than you right now. Emily. His ex-girlfriend from college. They'd stayed friends. The dog he was talking about wasn't even his, it was hers. Lying in a hospital bed with a concussion, a fractured arm, and deep bruising, I felt my heart rate spike so high the monitors started beeping. My fiancé, my supposed future husband, had chosen to skip my emergency to attend his ex's dog funeral. When John finally walked into my hospital room hours later, the service was long over. He tried to act concerned, but I cut him off. Did you seriously choose a dog's funeral over me being in the hospital? He got defensive. I don't understand how important that dog was to Emily. I stared at him, wondering if he'd lost his mind. I told him to get out. 2 days later, after surgery on my arm, I decided exactly what to do about the wedding. 2 days after my surgery, I finally answered one of John's calls. My voice was calm, but inside I was shaking with rage. The wedding is off. He exploded. You're overreacting. The dog was like family. It's not like you were dying. I hung up and called my sister and parents. With their full support, I officially canceled everything. But I didn't want weeks of awkward questions from 100 wedding guests, or whispered speculation. I wanted everyone to know the truth immediately. My maid of honor, my sister, helped me draft a single sentence. We sent it as a mass email and printed notice. The wedding of my name and John, his last name, is cancelled due to the groom's decision to attend his ex-girlfriend's pet's funeral instead of being with the bride during her emergency hospital visit. It was blunt. It was petty. And it was exactly what I needed. I posted the same thing on Facebook. The fallout was immediate. Friends, relatives, even some of John's own family, were furious with him. His parents, who had sunk thousands into the wedding, were livid. I heard later his father told him, "If you can't show up when your future wife is in the ER, you're no son of mine." John's life began to implode overnight. But I wasn't prepared for what would surface next, when whispers about Emily turned into something much darker. His parents turned on him. A few days after the cancellation, my phone rang. It was John's mom. I hesitated, then answered. Her voice was shaky. She apologized over and over, saying she was ashamed of her son. She told me his father had confronted him the moment they learned why the wedding was canceled. "How could you abandon your fiancé in the hospital? What kind of man does that?" The fight got so heated that John left their house that night. His parents cut him off financially and told him they didn't want to see him until he made it right. Meanwhile, I was at my parents' place, recovering. The cast on my arm itched like crazy, but at least I was surrounded by people who actually cared. Then came the first whisper. Through mutual friends, I heard John had been spending nearly all his time at Emily's house since the breakup. No one said the word cheating, yet. But my gut twisted. I tried to focus on physical therapy and canceling the rest of the wedding logistics. The dress went back to the store. Vendors were refunded where possible. And still, in the back of my mind, the question lingered, why did he really choose Emily that day? A week later, I got a message from a stranger that answered everything, and made me realize this was more than just betrayal at a dog's funeral. The truth about Emily. About a week later, an Instagram DM popped up from someone I didn't know. Her name was Hannah, and she claimed to be a friend of Emily's. At first, I was skeptical, until she mentioned specific details about the dog and the fallout that no outsider could have guessed. Hannah didn't waste time. "I think you should know. John and Emily have been sleeping together for months." She explained that Emily had confessed it to her recently, racked with guilt after the whole dog funeral scandal. According to Hannah, it started about 6 months into our engagement, right around when the dog got sick. Every time Emily needed emotional support, John would rush over. Sometimes, he stayed the night. Hannah even sent cropped screenshots of her conversation with Emily. "Emily, I hate that we ruined his life. If we'd controlled ourselves, he wouldn't have felt so torn." Hannah, "Does my name know?" Emily, "No. She didn't deserve that." I just sat there, phone in hand, feeling eerily calm. Deep down, I'd suspected it. Now I had confirmation. That dog funeral wasn't just an emotional favor, it was an excuse to stand beside the woman he'd been betraying me with. I told one person immediately, and it wasn't John. Telling his mother. I didn't bother confronting John. There was no point, he'd just lie, twist, or deflect. But I did call one person who deserved to know the full truth, his mother. When I told her what Hannah had shared, she went silent for a moment. Then, with a voice heavy with disgust, she said, "If that's true, then I have no sympathy left for him." She told me to keep the engagement ring, that under these circumstances it was mine to do with as I pleased. Out of respect, I planned to return it to her eventually. It was her family's heirloom, not his to reclaim. For me, the cheating confirmation erased any shred of lingering pity. John wasn't just a coward who skipped my accident for his ex's dog, he was a serial betrayer who had been stringing me along. I blocked him everywhere except email, in case there were logistical matters to tie up. I told him contact was only for emergencies. Weeks passed without a word, until one day, he broke the silence. The email was a masterpiece of excuses, half apologies, and blame. And it only proved I'd made the right choice. His pathetic final word. The email hit my inbox late at night. It was long, rambling, and somehow managed to be both an apology and an attack. He admitted to messing up with Emily but downplayed it. It only happened a couple of times. I was stressed and confused. Then came the excuses. "I never wanted to hurt you. You were busy with work, I felt lonely." For the record, I worked a normal 9 to 5 and spent most evenings with him. That excuse was laughable. He complained that I'd humiliated him by telling people the truth. "Are you happy now? My parents won't talk to me. You destroyed my life." Reading it, I actually laughed. He still saw himself as the victim, completely ignoring that every bit of fallout was the direct result of his own choices. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded it to my sister and close friends so we could collectively roast it in our group chat. Then I blocked his email. As far as I was concerned, this was his last gasp at relevance in my life. Months later, I'd see the final state of his new life, and it was exactly what he deserved. Final update. It's been 3 months since everything imploded. No more late-night emails, no more pathetic excuses, just silence. Physically, I've recovered. The cast is gone, physical therapy paid off, and I'm back behind the wheel in a new car. The first few drives were nerve-wracking, but now I feel free again. Mentally, I've done the work. Therapy helped me unpack the betrayal without letting it harden me into someone bitter. I've reconnected with friends, revived hobbies, and learned how good life feels when it's no longer tied to someone else's chaos. I even took a solo beach trip, 3 days of ocean air, quiet mornings, and no wedding drama. The ring? I returned it to John's mother in a short, polite meeting. She thanked me again, and we wished each other well. As for John, from what I hear, he's still couch surfing, still estranged from his parents, and his relationship with Emily is already falling apart. Apparently, they argue constantly. Not exactly shocking, trust doesn't grow in the soil of betrayal. I don't gloat. But I also don't waste sympathy. This is the life he built with his choices. And me? I'm done with that chapter. My future feels wide open, and for the first time in a long while, I'm the only one holding the pen. Sometimes the ending you never wanted turns out to be the freedom you didn't know you needed.